The full moon in Leo on Wednesday, February 12th takes you by surprise and pins your head against your heart as it squares Uranus and opposes Mercury. Look for opportunities to initiate change, stay flexible if the change finds you, and make sure to celebrate your best gifts and talents. Let's take a closer look at this full moon and break it down for the 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer who works in whole sign house system and uses tropical zodiac. Thank you for being here. If you enjoy my work and you want to show your support, please leave me a like or a comment, subscribe, and press that notification bell. Watch more of my content that encourages the algorithm to be more friendly, helps my channel grow, or say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant, and showing your appreciation in that way. If you're new to my channel, welcome. We're always welcoming towards new people as well as the loyal followers, subscribers that have been here for a while. I really, really appreciate every single one of you. Before we dive in, if you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I can help you choose the right date and time for your wedding, help you figure out where to move, do your natal chart reading and talk about your karmic soul's goals, and look at your year coming up, talk about your relationship, whatever you'd like. I am here to help you. On my website, you can also find a variety of products and offerings I have. For example, I have been creating astrological planners for the last 2 years. This is my 2025 edition of the planner. It contains 223 pages filled with tips about astrology, important dates, information about zodiac signs, houses, lunar phases, lunar signs, journaling pages, intentions, setting prompts, and guides for the month to come. Highly recommend. This is a perfect tool to make your year better and align yourself with astrology. As well as we're talking about the full moon in Leo while the sun is in its detriment in Aquarius, and I'd like to highlight my Sunlight in a Jar 3 or Sunlight in a Jar 2 candles. This is the candle that captures the powerful sun in Leo. It is decorated with a golden foil, so it sparkles, and the jar is this beautiful golden jar with, like, it sort of twinkles when you light it up because it has the openings in it. Not quite openings, but like openings in the paint, I guess. This candle highlights the powerful solar energy. It was created with the sun on the ascendant, capturing the confidence, the courage, the ambition, the ability to take the attention, grab the attention, and become a star that every Leo possesses, especially if they are Leo sun and Leo rising. This could bring more inspiration, recognition, confidence into your life, help you get the support of people in power, reach your goals, and find success. Highly recommend this if you were born during Aquarius season because the sun is in its detriment in Aquarius. Aquarius is really good at focusing on humanity and other people, but sometimes may struggle expressing their own authority or coming across, or like even sort of getting spotlight because they're usually above that. But you know, we're all human. We all want to be recognized for the hard work that we're doing. Or if your sun is in Libra, which is another very social sign, not so good at getting recognition always for the work that they're doing. As well as if your sun is in the dark house, 6th, 8th, or 12th specifically, if it conjoins, squares, or opposes Saturn, this is the choice for you. Every time we hit Aquarius season or Libra season, I can't help myself but talk about this candle because it's a perfect, warm, solar, confident energy we need. February is tricky like that. We have Venus in the sign of its detriment, Mars is in the sign of its fall, Sun is in the sign of its detriment, Mercury is about to go into the sign of its detriment, Jupiter is in the sign of its detriment. You need all the help you can get. At least I do. That's why, I've been lighting up my candles every time I'm filming. So this full moon in Leo occurs on Wednesday, February 12th at 8:53 a.m. Eastern Time, adjusted for your time zone, at 24 degrees 6 minutes Leo. So you will feel it especially strongly if you have planets and angles and, you know, like your midheaven ascendant, descendant, I see between 21 and 27 degrees fixed signs. And those are, of course, Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus. If you have planets, you want to see what kind of planets they are, and you want to look at the houses those planets rule. So if the full moon, if you have Venus in Leo, right, at 26 degrees, and the full moon occurs right at your Venus, there is potentially some kind of culmination and transformation around the matters of love and creativity and beauty, and your desires are maybe changing. And then you want to look which houses are Taurus and Libra in your chart and the themes that they represent, because that is also the place where that transformation may take place. The full moon is always an opposition between the sun and the moon. And in the lunar cycle, the new moon is the new beginning, the planting of a seed, right? It represents the seed being placed in the dark, fertile soil. And then by the time we get to the full moon, the seed blooms and it becomes a full-blown adult. So on that level, the full moon is all about completion. It could be connected to recognition, closing one cycle of life, moving on to the next cycle. And here we're dealing specifically with the sun in Aquarius, a very social sign, very kind of mind, intellectual sign, and the moon in Leo. And we not just have the sun opposite the moon, but we also have Mercury opposite the moon. So we have like the sun and Mercury that have just conjoined and had a cazimi on February 9th. And we have the moon in Leo, and there is that sense that while there is a lot of focus on community and other people and, you know, what's going on in the world, and maybe things don't feel fair, but it is just as important to connect with your heart. It is just as important to tend to yourself. It's just as important to speak up about your goals. But you may feel a little bit of this tension of like consciously needing to be maybe rational and high-minded and socially minded, and emotionally, because Leo is connected to the heart, and need to speak up and like get that warmth, get that recognition in a season that may be a little bit hard to get warmth in, right? That's why Leo energy, Leo candle. So we are looking back here at August 4th, 2024, when we had the new moon in Leo. Look back and see what was happening in your life. What did you start? What have you learned about yourself? Where did you look for spotlight? What's important to you? And in the true realm of Aquarius, and the full moon will always encourage us to find balance between the opposites. Think of it as what kind of talents and gifts you have that can best help the world around you, right? Your ability to shine does not take away from others' ability to shine unless you're consciously, you know, messing with other people. But like, if it is about you wanting to be the most successful, the best version of yourself, the most sort of recognized version of yourself, there's nothing wrong with that, especially if that the gifts and you being the most confident version of yourself will actually inspire other people to connect with their gifts and be the best version of themselves. Like how much the world would change and how much better it would be if we all just strive to make ourselves and the world around us better, right? So healthy dose of ego is good and it's important. Too much ego, which could be the danger of this full moon, when we are too sort of subjective and self-driven, is less good. So balancing, right? Some aspects this full moon makes, it is trining Chiron in Aries, which could suggest that there is healing going on, that by connecting with your heart and being honest with yourself, you're addressing old wounds and you're making yourself feel more whole. There is that square to Uranus, which could bring surprises, breakdowns, and breakthroughs, especially when it comes to Uranian things, change around resources, change around finances, around your property, your living situation, your relationships, and things that normally make you feel stable. And the moon as well opposes Mercury. So The opposition to Mercury can bring miscommunications, misunderstandings, and need to discuss a bit more difficult situation maybe. And of course, it's important to talk about it, but I think the opposition has a more challenging energy, and sometimes we may project. We may sort of feel like other people are maybe they're being kind of more restrictive with us, or they're not hearing us. And just trust that if you feel like they're not hearing you, probably you're also not hearing them. So maybe take a beat, take a breath. So it could be a good time to go paint, to, you know, do your hair, do your makeup, dress up, try to look your best and make yourself like feel good, and honor and celebrate all the accomplishments you've had. Take a moment to like, you know, clap yourself, accept the imaginary Oscar and thank yourself. What is that? Is it Snoop Dogg? I think he's like, I'd like to thank me. I've done the work. It's all up to me. So celebrate yourself, you know, connect with yourself, dress up. But keep in mind that there might be a bit of like tension, friction, connected to the opposition to Mercury and the square to Uranus. Before we look at the 12 rising signs, if you're looking for more guidance, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com. Book your natal chart, relationship, or predictive reading on there. I can help you relocate and figure out the better place for you to live, as well as potentially help you choose a date for your wedding, date for starting your business, and other things. So let's take a look at the 12 rising signs, starting with Aries rising. If you are an Aries rising, the full moon is happening in your 5th house, and it brings back the themes from August 2024 when we had the new moon in Leo. And we just had Mars go retrograde in Leo as well, right? So there could have been some kind of sense of questioning what your desires are, what brings you pleasure, what makes you happy and joyful. And the full moon in the 5th house might bring answers that you're seeking, right? It can bring maybe some kind of like recognition internally or externally, where you're connecting with your passions and you're committing to your creative goals, right? You decide to start painting, you decide to start writing. It could also be the time you complete some kind of project, especially once again, look back at August. There could be a transformation in your romantic relationship around this time of this full moon, especially as the full moon squares Uranus in the 2nd house and trines Chiron in the 1st. You may be coming into your own and becoming more clear about your goals and choosing to communicate that to your partner, maybe even goals around parenthood, where you're, you know, telling your partner whether you want or not want to be a parent. There might also be some kind of like sudden surprise around money, square to Uranus in the 2nd house, like some kind of, you know, you get a bunch of money and then you have freedom to maybe quit your job and become a travel blogger for a living, which of course is an exciting development. Or the square to Uranus could suggest that you discover that your partner has like a gambling debt, or you discover that, you know, the square is not the easiest aspect, right? Like square to Uranus in the 2nd house can suggest that there is like some kind of sudden, maybe you need to spend a bunch of money. Maybe, like I said, you discover that there is a debt that you or your partner have. Or there is a change in your income because your job tells you that we only need you 3 days a week. So the full moon in the 5th might be your chance to kind of be honest with yourself about what it is that you want and you do not want to do. What is it that brings you joy and happiness? And, you know, sort of act in line with that, right? Like whether it means you need to change your romantic relationship or rethink how much you spend on your kids' education, or rethink what you spend time on creatively. Or even like, you know, if you find out that you're pregnant, maybe figure out how to spend money better. Like all of those questions could be coming up around the time of this full moon. And do let me know if you remember what was happening in August, what was happening in your romantic life with your children, with your creativity around that time. The full moon in the 5th can also be maybe you get married or you meet someone, you know, maybe there's some kind of like exciting romantic development, positive shift, or you give birth and then like your life has changed forever. If you're looking for more guidance, visit AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com and pick up a natal chart, predictive, year ahead, or relationship consultation on there. If you are a Taurus rising, there's a full moon in your 4th house and a square to Uranus in the 1st, trine Chiron in the 12th, and it opposes Sun and Mercury in the 10th. So the full moon in the 4th brings completion, change, transformation to your house of home, family, and living situation. What was happening in that sector of your life in August when we had a new moon in Leo? You may have started looking for a home. You may have, discovered something about your relationship with your family, something about your family life. You maybe started refinancing your mortgage. So the full moon in the 4th will bring a shift, right? It may bring a chance to move, a chance to heal a family difficult situation. It can also be quite frustrating because it suggests that there is a chance to like set better boundaries, release a wound, heal, move, relocate, and like maybe transform a relationship with a family in response to your inner desire and search for independence and your inner desire and search to be like truthful and authentically yourself. The square to Uranus in the 1st might suggest that there is not necessarily sort of ease, and not everybody maybe takes you for who you are and likes it. So maybe you're dealing with some kind of misunderstanding in the family and conflict in the family, and like you have to stand by what you believe and you have to make positive changes and improvements in the family, but it's not necessarily going to be easy. And the trine to Chiron in the 12th house also, I think, supports that. It supports that you're letting things go and you're like transforming old patterns. Share if this resonates, and if you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com. Also highly recommend my Jupiter in Taurus candle for you guys as Taurus risings. It's perfect. If you are a Gemini rising, there's a full moon in your 3rd house and a square to Uranus in the 12th. Trines Chiron in the 11th, opposes the Sun and Mercury in the 9th. Okay, so the full moon here brings a completion and a change to a project, relationship, conflict that got started back in August. You may have started a creative project, you may have discovered a new idea, you may have collaborated with a sibling, or maybe had a conflict with a sibling. And so the full moon in the 3rd suggests that you're reaching a turning point, right? You're completing that creative project that you've been working on. You're getting past a difficult situation with a sibling. It doesn't have to be a conflict, but maybe you've experienced some kind of transformation in your relationship. I feel like this reads like needing to have an important conversation with siblings or neighbors or people in your life in order to come to more of an understanding. There's a square to Uranus in the 12th, so something gets stirred in your subconscious with Uranus in the 12th that you are feeling like, you have a dream or you have like a sudden realization and you decide to bring it up and you decide to discuss things. So the full moon in the 3rd could be like a very nice opportunity to clear the air verbally and talk things out. Clear the air by clearing your space around you, right? The Sun and Mercury are both in the 9th house, and you may have like higher goals and desires and aspirations, and the full moon in the third might suggest that you need to declutter, that you need to kind of change your schedule, right? That maybe you need to sell some things or rethink the technology you use, rethink the car that you drive. So there is like opportunities to transform your immediate environment, your thinking, your relationships with people you're close with in order to have more freedom to pursue larger goals. And it's like, do not underestimate the need to address the little things, the little disagreements, the little kind of frustrations, because they mean a lot for the larger picture. Visit Anastasia.astrology.com and book your year ahead reading, natal chart reading, your relationship compatibility report if you'd like. I can also help you pick a date for your wedding, help you figure out where to move, and other things. All of that is at Anastasia.astrology.com. If you are the beautiful Cancer rising, there's a full moon in your second house of money and values with the Sun and Mercury in your 8th house. There's a square to Uranus in the 11th and trine to Chiron in the 10th. So the full moon in the second brings completion and transformation to your finances and values. And I urge you to look back at August 2024 when we had a new moon in Leo. What was happening? Maybe you've discovered a stock and you made an investment. Maybe you've asked for a raise. Maybe you've discovered a passion and you decided to commit to it and like invest money into it. The full moon could be the time you get a raise, you see a payment from your stock, or you realize it's not actually working and you decide to sell it. There could be important kind of priority shift in your life, some kind of change. Maybe in August, you were thinking of moving to Paris, and now you realize that you need to hold off on your move to Paris. There is a square to Uranus in the 11th, which could suggest that there are maybe some kind of sudden developments in the lives of your like friends, in the lives of your allies, even in the lives of your elder siblings, potentially. The square to Uranus might suggest that, you know, like there is some kind of disruption in the life of a friend and they need you to lend them some money, and so you do. Or you've been relying on them for something and they fall out and you need to rethink your goals and you need to reevaluate. There is a trine to Chiron in the 10th, so it also feels like you're making positive changes to your professional life and potentially connecting with what your heart truly desires. And so sometimes the full moon in the second might be, especially with a square to Uranus, it may feel sort of like a sudden snap, and you tell someone how you feel, or you pull money out of something, or you have, like maybe some kind of important change in your priorities, but it's likely that it's building up for a while, especially because we've had a new moon in Leo in August. So please share what's happening in your financial sector, what's happening with your professional life. Are you rethinking, reevaluating your dreams? And to learn more, book a reading at Anastasia.astrology.com. You can pick up a natal, relationship, predictive reading on there. Ask me questions about the best date for an important event or the best place for you to move to. If you are a Leo rising, there's a full moon in your first house, and this is major, right? Full moon in the first house is like a personal turning point. It's a personal celebration. It's a personal change. It's a priority shift on many levels. It's also a completion of the chapter that got started in your life in August 2024 when we had a new moon in Leo. And so take a look back. Let me know in the comments below if you remember what was happening. You maybe started a writing project. You maybe started working out. You maybe discovered a new goal and started looking for work in that field. There is a square to Uranus in your 10th house, so there can be something disruptive, surprising, shocking coming from your house of career. One example would be if in August or even before that you've discovered your love for writing. The square to Uranus could be you get like an opportunity to quit your job and to become a freelance writer, and maybe it's stressful and you're not quite sure how to go about it, but it could be also very like positive. The fact that there is an opposition to Sun and Mercury in your 7th house does suggest an element of like needing to balance your goals with your partner's goals, and maybe you're feeling a little bit misunderstood, right? You're feeling ready to become that freelance writer, or you're feeling ready to become a parent maybe, and your partner is not quite ready. So there may be maybe like a need to deal with friction at work to connect with your true desires and with everything that's going on in the relationship too. And ultimately, I feel like this full moon to me is a reminder to you that you need to tend to yourself, that you need to like connect with your passions, your desires, that you need to understand yourself so that you can be a better partner, a better employee, a better creative individual. So do not forget to kind of tend to your health, to your creativity, ask for what you need and get that recognition you seek, because all of that will be helpful in the long run. Visit AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com for more guidance, to book your reading, to find out what the year ahead has in store for you, get a relationship overview, or help you understand your karmic purpose and more. For the beautiful Virgo rising, there's a full moon in the 12th house, the house of mental health, the house of spirituality. It opposes the Sun and Mercury in the 6th, and it squares Uranus in your 9th, and also trines Chiron in the 8th. So very healing with the full moon in the 12th, trining Chiron in the 8th. Even with the square to Uranus in the 9th, I feel like it could be very like liberating in terms of what you believe in. It could kind of like push you to understand that you deserve recognition, to understand that you can be the star in your own right? Like with Virgo on the ascendant, you're likely quite humble and quite thoughtful, and you're maybe critical of yourself. And the full moon in the 12th is shining light on these opportunities to be in the spotlight and to be playful and to be joyful. And so I think there is a chance to heal. There's very much a chance to kick bad habits to the curb, with the 6th and the 12th house both highlighted. They could be like physical bad habits when it comes to your health, maybe drinking too much Coca-Cola, right? Or eating too many sugary things. But it can also be about tapping into your creativity, tapping into your leadership skills, and kind of learning to believe in yourself. Take a look back at August 2024. We had a new moon in Leo in August. What was happening in your life? Were you becoming more clear about the habits that do not serve you? Were you maybe starting a project that had to do with spirituality, yoga, astrology, mental health, therapy? Because the full moon in the 12th could be a chance to maybe you experience some kind of breakthrough in therapy, or you complete that writing project that you've been working on for a while, kind of all on your own, or you're ready to present your yoga classes to the world. There might be a lot of exciting possibilities, and ultimately a chance to like trust that you deserve to be a star, which might be hard for you, but not impossible, hopefully. Visit AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com if you seek more answers about your natal chart, your relationship compatibility, your year coming up. You need help picking the right date for your event, or figuring out where you should relocate. For the beautiful Libra rising, there is a full moon in your 11th house, and it potentially brings changes to your friendships, your community, your social engagements, and your social media or your social media strategy. It could be a great time to celebrate your accomplishments, how much you've done, how far you've come, and all the goodness you created, as well as celebrate your relationships, your friendships, and your connections. Take a look back at what was happening in your life in August when we had a new moon in Leo. That could have been the initiation, right? A start of a friendship that now perhaps blooms and feels like it's solid and sturdy and complete and reliable. There is maybe a challenge that's going to come to your friendship with this full moon, because the full moon in the 11th squares Uranus in the 8th, and a friend might come to you and ask for a loan, and that might test your friendship. Or maybe you confront a friend about a debt or a loan that they already owe you, and that once again sort of puts a strain on a friendship. Ultimately, I think there is a chance to speak up and express yourself, even if you may not agree, because the full moon also opposes Mercury in the 5th house. So there is a bit of this like tension between the heart and the head. And it may be hard to come to an agreement at the time of this full moon, but it's still important to express yourself. There may be changes when it comes to your dreams that come out of the square to Uranus. Square to Uranus can affect your partner's finances. It can affect your personal you've been expecting a certain commission to come your way, but it's less than you expected. So with the full moon in Leo, you may have to rethink the projects you take on. You may have to rethink your social media strategy as well. I think there is quite an exciting opportunity with this full moon to maybe redirect yourself if you feel like your friendships, your dreams, your social engagements are not as fulfilling. There could be a chance to, yes, talk about things honestly, but also maybe like release some projects and some engagements and like relationships that are draining and unhealthy for you. It's crazy how much the light changes within minutes that I'm talking about this rising sign. So I think both may be a completion, like a celebration of the growth you've experienced and success you've experienced in the last 6 months, but also a chance to reconsider, especially considering we've had Mars retrograding here just a couple of months ago. For more guidance, visit Anastasia.astrology.com and pick up a year ahead and natal chart, a relationship reading. I can also help you choose the date for your wedding or figure out the best place you should relocate to. For the lovely Scorpio rising, there's a full moon in your 10th house, which brings completion, transformation, change to your professional life in response to potentially something that's going on in your romantic relationship, in your business partnership, or in the life of your partner. The full moon in the 10th house squares Uranus in your 7th, and so there might be a sudden chance to start a business, or maybe your partner gets a chance to relocate and you're like, okay, let's do this. But there is some type of transformation. Even honestly, the square to Uranus in the 7th could mean that you find out that your wife is pregnant and you decide to take on more work potentially. So there is like this need to figure out a better, I think, work-life balance and maybe make changes to your job. The full moon in the 10th house could be a celebration of how much you've accomplished, especially take a look back at August 2024 when we had a new moon in Leo. So you're maybe reaching a turning point, you're maybe getting a raise you've been expecting, a promotion, or like I said, maybe choosing to quit your job and to start a business if you've been getting ready for that. There might be some tensions between your home life and your professional life with the opposition to Mercury in the 4th, and that would be especially applicable if, like, let's say you work for your dad and the full moon happens and you and the father do not agree, and so it brings up both like maybe even childhood wounds that you haven't healed and your sort of existing professional aspirations. So it's a good time with this full moon to celebrate how far you've come and all the things you've accomplished, and to give yourself credit, and to also honestly ask yourself what brings you most joy and what are your best gifts, and then operate accordingly. Like, you can always figure things out, but you need to know yourself first. Visit Anastasia.astrology.com if you have additional questions, you want to understand your natal chart, you want to talk about your relationship compatibility, and more questions. Bring them my way. If you are a Sagittarius rising, there's a full moon in your 9th house in opposition to the Sun and Mercury in the 3rd, squaring Uranus in the 6th and trining Chiron in the 5th. So this full moon could be very ideological, right? 9th house is the place of the higher mind. It's the place of big questions and inquiries. And so as the full moon squares Uranus in your 6th, there may be something happening in your job. There may be something happening around your health, something happening in your relationships with colleagues that is making you have big realizations, right? Let's say it's health related and you get sick for the 3rd time this year. And so the full moon in the 9th could be a realization that maybe you're getting sick because you don't like your work environment or because you don't like where you live, and it's just a manifestation of your subconscious. Take a look back at what was happening in the realm of education, travel, writing, legal matters in August 2024, which is when we had a new moon in Leo. And if you had started a project, you may be now completing it. If you started a writing, let's say you started writing your dissertation, maybe you're ready to present it to your teacher. I feel like you're already ready. It's hard to say. But anyways, the full moon in the 9th can bring, maybe there's an exam you're taking, you might be graduating, you may be relocating as well. And once again, it could be like a lot more spiritual, where you're letting go of one kind of belief and you're welcoming a different type of belief. There may be a sense of, you've always thought that you need to work until you're 60 because work gives you purpose. And now maybe you realize that it's not about work, it's about being a parent, or it's about traveling the world, right? Let's be Sagittarian for a second. There's also that Chiron, huh? Because it makes you cry. But there is Chiron in the 5th house, and there is potentially that sense of like discovering childlike wonder and healing wounds, and maybe even dealing with some kind of pain around parenthood and children. And so the full moon in the 9th is like a very interesting spiritual, possibly like literal change as well, right? Like I said, if it's connected to travel, if you're in the law, if you're dealing with some kind of legal matter coming full circle. But could be also like just a chance to review what you think and what kind of guides you, what kind of principles, and even what you tell yourself, right? With Mercury being in your 3rd house, like seeing the connection between your thoughts and your life and how it affects your health, your work, your relationships. Highly spiritual full moon here. If you're seeking more, visit Anastasia.astrology.com for your natal chart consultation, your year ahead breakdown, or your relationship compatibility reading. I can also help you pick a date for a wedding or a big event, as well as help you figure out which location is best for you to live in. Ideally, if you're booking that kind of reading, you should specify like a number of places you're considering, so we're not just looking at everything. If you are a Capricorn rising, there's a full moon in your 8th house in opposition to Mercury and the Sun in the 2nd, squaring Uranus in the 5th, trining Chiron in the 4th. So a lot is going on with this full moon. First of all, we're completing the cycle that got started in August 2024 with a new moon in Leo. And we're looking at your house of engagements with other people, money, resources that you share with other people, the house of like fears and death and vulnerability. So the full moon here might suggest like a need to address any unfairness. And of course, you know, it's the Leo energy, so it will encourage you to tap into your courage, to tap into your passion, right, into your self-worth, and kind of focus on like building relationships that are maybe more fair. There is a square to Uranus in the 5th, which could bring like sudden disruptions, surprises, developments involving romance, involving pleasure, children, gambling. Let's say, you know, this could be like a time you find out that your partner has a debt that they never told you. And so the full moon in the 8th is your opportunity to be like, okay, this is not going to work out, or okay, let's figure out how I can help you pay it off, or how you should better use your money to figure it out. So this feels like, you know, like financially, this could be the time you get some kind of payment, or you get a bonus you've been waiting for. You may pay off a debt around this time, or you may be going through some kind of transformation in your mind. There is a trine to Chiron in the 4th. There might be healing of childhood wounds, of family dynamics, releasing fears around starting your own family. And there may be, you know, there may be kind of more tangible changes, I think, in relationships. Like the full moon in the 8th could be a chance to like talk to your partner about the future, talk to them about money, figure out what your strategy is when it comes to finances and your relationship. So it's an interesting one. It can definitely be quite healing and sort of more hidden, but it can also bring important developments around like priorities and spending and joint finances, even business finances or business partnerships are other couple of possibilities. For more guidance, visit anastasia.astrology.com. Book your year ahead reading to find out what 2025 has in store. Get a natal chart consultation or a relationship reading on there as well. If you are a lovely Aquarius rising, there's a full moon in your 7th house of relationships. It opposes the Sun and Mercury in the 1st. It squares Uranus in the 4th and trines Chiron in the 3rd. So the full moon in the 7th is very much a completion, a celebration, a development in the house of relationships. It may have roots in the new moon we had in August 2024. If you started dating someone new, the full moon might mean you commit. Maybe you move in together, because the square to Uranus in the 4th can bring like a sudden surprise and development around like home, family, living situation. Something happens in your home, it gets fumigated for bugs or something, and you're like, hey, can I spend a weekend with you and your partner? Like, why not just move in here? So some kind of like development like that is a possibility. Getting engaged, getting married, getting pregnant are other important developments here. There might be a change in your partner's life, something happening like with their family, something happening with their living situation, something happening with their priorities that then ends up affecting you and your relationship. And like, of course, you know, it could be very like healing, and it can bring you closer, but it can also make you realize that maybe there are some matters that you do not see eye to eye on, and then this would initiate an important conversation that maybe brings a change to your relationship, that maybe brings like an ending to a relationship. You know, don't get scared about that. It's likely that you already feel it and you already know that the relationship is not doing well, and I wouldn't just tell everyone, be careful. But the square to Uranus in the 4th can also be quite interesting, because it could suggest that you're maybe healing a childhood wound, you're maybe finding more independence from your family, and as a result, your relationships are changing. Maybe realizing that what happened with your parents and their relationship doesn't define your relationship, and you don't have to be afraid of your partner leaving you because your father did, right? Like some kind of important healing and realization here is a possibility. But also buying a property, or discovering that your partner has a home and they're rich or something. I'm just spitballing here. Please share how this resonates. For more guidance, visit anastasia.astrology.com and book your reading on there, or pick up your sunlight in a jar candle. This is perfect for your relationship matters. Last but not least, the beautiful Pisces rising. There's a full moon in your 6th house in opposition to the Sun and Mercury in the 12th. It squares Uranus in the 3rd, trines Chiron in the 2nd. So the full moon in the sixth house brings attention to your work, to your health, diet, exercise routines, to your pets. And as well as potentially sort of hard labors that you've been pouring a lot of blood, sweat, and tears over, right? There is a trine to Chiron in the second, which makes me wonder that maybe this full moon is a sign that you're completing something, that you've been working on a project and you've been like, you know, bleeding over it and really caring, and you finally finish it. And this could be like a great time to celebrate and a great time to notice how far you've come. Take a look back at August 2024 when we had a new moon in Leo, because this completion might be connected to that new moon. And it could be like a great time to also connect with your body. The full moon in the sixth house is an opportunity to like tend to your health and let go of bad habits, right? Let go of maybe a tendency to stay up too late or drink a lot of sweet drinks. Like sort of full moon in the sixth is a chance to both celebrate yourself and cleanse yourself of unhealthy patterns. There's a square to Uranus in the third, which could bring maybe revelations, surprises, disruptions in your conversations, in your neighborhood, in your schedule. The square to Uranus in the third could be like a desire to start working from home, or a desire to change your schedule, to sort of be like, okay, I've worked hard enough. I'm done. I only want to work 9 to 5 and like, this is it. And maybe you get good response in exchange of that statement that you make. There's also an opposition to the Sun and Mercury in the 12th, which is of course tying your mental health with your physical health and very much encouraging you to make changes to both your physical body, your diet, maybe get a service animal, right? Maybe that's where pets come in, and focus on like improving your life in whichever way possible. And with Uranus in the third, also like even breakthroughs around thoughts and values you have, and like the loops you may find yourself running can be quite like eye-opening and revelatory. Eye-opening, let's stick with that. For more guidance, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com. Book a reading on there. We can talk about your natal chart, your karmic purpose, your strengths, weaknesses, your relationship compatibility, your year coming up. I can help you pick a date for your important event, or help you figure out where in the world would be the best home for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching my videos, leaving comments, leaving likes. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. And check out my offerings, check out my other videos. I appreciate you and all the support you show me. Thank you guys. Bye.